Hello and welcome. Tonight, former President Olusegun Obasanjo asks incoming administration to urgently pursue reconciliation and moral rearmament for the country to heal from the wounds of the 2023 election. Labour Party crisis deepens as some members of the National Working Committee take over the party secretariat in Abuja, a move dismissed by the embattled chairman as the action of thugs. Military troops neutralize 45 terrorists while 974 others surrender in various operations across the northern region. On business news tonight, International Monetary Fund, the IMF, sees about 3% growth for global economy over the next 5 years, the weakest in more than 3 decades.
And on sports news tonight, Frank Lampard says it was an easy decision to make his surprise return to Chelsea as caretaker boss until the end of the season.
And from Abuja, at least 46 persons have been killed by suspected herdsmen in Benue, while another 8 are dead from farmers-herders clash in Taraba.
And in international news from London, French President Emmanuel Macron has urged his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping to use his influence to help stop Russia's war in Ukraine.
Elections have come and gone, and it's now time for the incoming administration to be ready to embrace conciliation. Well, this is a message from former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who is advocating for reconciliation and moral rearmament in order to ensure the healing of the country. Chief Obasanjo, who was speaking at a book presentation in Abuja, said the divisiveness which was manifest in the recent elections can be healed, provided the incoming administration is ready to embrace conciliation.
From elections to governance and performance, that's the subject matter of this event organized by Next Year and the Ibadan School of Governance and Public Policy. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who insists he's too old to keep quiet, says that Nigeria is more divided than ever before and as such requires reconciliation and healing.
Given what we saw during the elections, Nigeria is now even more divided and more corroded than we thought. This places a deep onus on any administration following the current one to urgently facilitate the process of national moral rearmament and national reconciliation that the potential to enhance healing for aggrieved and bereaved persons across Nigeria and to assuage the youth.
The former president laments the dwindling economy and huge national debt burden of the country.
Governance in Nigeria now calls for thinking outside the box in terms of development financing. These have become inevitable in the face of Nigeria's dwindling fortune in oil revenue, Nigeria's huge foreign indebtedness, and the urgency of diversifying Nigeria's monocultural economy.
Delivering a keynote address, the immediate past president of the Nigerian Academy of Letters highlights the essence of reforms in a developing society.
What will reform mean for the system? How do we proceed with reforms? What will change and why? Do we have a way of predicting the future? What are the frameworks for implementation? How do we manage the change that will arise?
The conversation is taken further as the keynote speaker identifies the challenges of reforms.
Nigerians have tended to celebrate the good old days, and we have taken poor performance to such a ridiculous extent that Nigerians yearn for the glory of a lesser failure. Repeated failure in the polity has led to a new norm in the zeitgeist, the benchmarking of failure.
The event comes to a climax with the public presentation of the book, The Unending Quest for Reforms, an intellectual memoir authored by Professor Tunji Olaokpa, the Executive Vice Chairman of the Ibadan School of Government and Public Policy.
Picking some copies.
Into party politics, it appears the crisis rocking the Labour Party is far from being over, as some members of the National Working Committee of the party have taken over the National Secretariat in Abuja, where they held an emergency National Working Committee meeting on the current state of the party. The members, led by Mr. Lamidi Apapa, who is the Deputy National Chairman South, says he is now the acting National Chairman. Mr. Apapa, who briefed journalists after the meeting, said their action is as a result of a court order restraining the National Chairman, Mr. Julius Abure, and 3 other National Working Committee members from parading themselves as national officers of the party. He also announced the reversal of the suspension of some members of the party at the state and national levels.
Concerning Labour Party, you are all aware that yesterday, 4th of April, the national chairman of our party and 4 other officers were restrained by Abuja High Court not to parade themselves as officers of the party. This is based on allegation of perjury, forgery, and so on and so forth. And because of that, this National Working Committee emergency meeting is taking place. Because in an organization like this, there is no room for vacuum. And therefore, this National Working Committee meeting has graciously appointed me as the acting national chairman of the party, while Alhaji Saleh has been appointed as the acting secretary of the party. While Comrade Roland Daramola, who has been the financial secretary of the party, now handles both the office of the financial secretary and that of the treasurer.
But Mr. Julius Abure disagrees. He insists he is still the national chairman of the Labour Party because a court of competent jurisdiction equally gave an order barring any official of the party from suspending him as national chairman. Mr. Abure, in a statement, says the actions of the Lamidi-led team is illegal, which was why it resorted to the use of thugs and security officials to take over the national secretariat of the party, an action he says is temporary, as the said officers are not known to law. He called on all well-meaning Nigerians, members of the party rather, to remain calm as the issues will soon be resolved and the rule of law prevail. Over in Rivers State, some members of the National Assembly today joined the People's Democratic Party in its protest at the INEC office in Port Harcourt for a 4th day. Senator Barry Nadam Pigi and Honorable Kingsley Chinda are part of the group, asking the Commission to be fair to all parties and follow the rule of law in the inspection of electoral materials, which is the bone of contention. For several days now, PDP members in Rivers State have been protesting at the INEC headquarters, demanding a joint inspection of the materials used in the governorship election in the state.
Electoral Act is very, very clear, and in as much as it's clear, no matter what the opposition party wants to do, certified true copy and inspections of material, even based on the argument we've done in the court, they were arguing for joint inspection. In 2016, such thing happened in this state. And of course, anything can happen inside INEC strong room here. So we are of the total opinion that if anybody must inspect any material, it must be a joint thing. And without joint inspection, we are not protected at any point in time. We as Rivers people, we are going to be here and to make sure the right thing is done at the right time.
We have asked that all the parties be given equal opportunity. And what we are doing is based on our experience in the past. it will be foolhardy for us to fold our arms and allow APC to cheat us a second time. They had in the past brought fake results to the tribunal. Those fake results were accepted, and people who were not elected by our people were allowed to sit in the Senate for us for a period of 3.5 years. That will not be allowed to happen again. They brought a motion ex parte in our absence in court and got order for inspection. We have gone to court based on a motion on notice. We have put them on notice. We want those documents to be inspected jointly by ourselves and themselves. Let them come up. We are ready for joint inspection. We will not allow them to tamper with those documents as they are today. And we also want to caution INEC. They need to be careful. They have been served the necessary processes. Once there is an application to vary an order and then for a joint inspection, it is a primary law that you cannot take any step until that application is taken care of.
Meanwhile, the Rivers State chapter of the All Progressives Congress is alleging that one of their lawyers, Dr. Godswill Dike, has been abducted at the Rivers INEC head office. Well, this allegation was made during a press briefing by the party's campaign spokesman at the head office. He further alleges that all efforts to get security operatives to intervene in the matter has proven abortive.
Dr. Godswill Dike was invited to the commission to take delivery of the certified true copies of the INEC documents that were applied for pursuant to the provisions of Section 74 of the Electoral Act 2022. Apparently acting on a tip-off, Edison here and Samuel Wanosike swooped on him inside the INEC office shortly after Dr. Godswill Dike signed for the documents, and made away with him to the State Assembly residential quarters behind the INEC state headquarters. Now, our initial reaction was to establish contact with the resident electoral commissioner, Jackson Alalibor Semenikian, to report the criminal adoption of the aforementioned Dr. Dike. Curiously, the REC, who has done nothing beyond the press release 2 days ago, directing political parties to proceed to the LG offices of the Commission for the election documents they may require, told our governorship candidate emphatically that there was nothing the Commission can do, having released the documents we applied for to Dr. Godswill Dike.
Well, the police is, however, yet to comment on the development. Away from Rivers in Ekiti State, where the state governor, Mr. Abiodun Yebanji, has hailed the verdict of the Supreme Court that reaffirmed his election as governor of Ekiti State. The Apex Court sitting in Abuja today dismissed the petition of the governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, Mr. Segun Oni, challenging Mr. Yebanji's victory in the June 18, 2022 governorship election in Ekiti State. The Ekiti governor, in a chat with journalists in Ado-Ekiti, describes the verdict as a victory for democracy.
As usual, it's just to give glory to God and to thank Ekiti people for their prayers. It's the Lord doing, and it's marvelous in my sight. And I commend the Nigerian judiciary for being professional and for bringing ahead to this litigation. And we are all Ekiti. What has happened has not diminished my respect for Engineer Segun Oni. He remains my leader. He remains my brother. I'm going to call him. I'm going to visit him. He has exhibited his right as permitted by the Constitution. But now the case is closed, so all of us have to come together to develop our states.
In part two, after the break, at least 46 persons have been killed by suspected herdsmen in Benue, while another 8 are dead from farmers-herders clashes in Taraba State. That's in a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo asks incoming administration to urgently pursue reconciliation and moral rearmament for the country to heal from the wounds of the 2023 election. Labour Party crisis deepens as some members of the National Working Committee take over party secretariat in Abuja, a move dismissed by embattled chairman as the action of thugs. Military troops neutralized 45 terrorists while 974 others surrender in various operations across the northern region. And French President Emmanuel Macron urges his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping to help stop Russia's war in Ukraine. And to the National Assembly now, where the House of Representatives is mandating the Niger Delta Development Commission to put on hold the release of 15 billion naira counterpart funding requested by the federal government. This was after a motion by Honorable Nyime Idem drawing the attention of the House to the federal government's request mandating the Ministry of Niger Delta to jointly finance an intervention and humanitarian program of sums running into several billions of naira using the money recovered by the EFCC without budgetary provision. Our correspondent Terry Kumi reports.
The first bill is referred to the...
Matters of urgent public importance took center stage during the last plenary session of the week in the House of Representatives.
Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Unyime Idem wants the House to address an intended breach of the Appropriation Act by the Niger Delta Development Commission.
Cognizant that the federal government sent a special request mandating the Ministry of Niger Delta to jointly finance an intervention and humanitarian program of sums running into several billions of naira using the money recovered by the EFCC without budgetary provision. The House resolved to urge the Niger Delta Development Commission to put on hold the release of 15 billion counterpart funding requested by the federal government, pending the approval of the Commission's budget by this Honorable House.
This motion is essentially to stop them from going further to spend 15 billion, which I understand is for flood control. Necessary to do that. Is it an appropriation for 2021, 2022, or 2023? So we must situate this properly.
Meanwhile, despite the denial of the NNPCL of paying 20 billion naira to ghost consultants and theft of multi-billion naira tax, the House, following a motion, resolves to carry out its own investigation.
Further informed that the say over 20 billion naira diverted by the staff of NNPC is part of the monies meant for the payment of taxes to state government in Nigeria by the corporation. Worried that if no action is urgently taken by these hallowed chambers to nip this unethical and unwholesome practice in the bud, it will negatively affect the fortunes of our nation as well as deprive other states' government of its revenues.
In the meantime, a bill to prevent Nigerian-trained medical or dental practitioners from being granted licenses until they have worked for a minimum of 5 years in the country was passed through second reading. The House, however, rejected a bill to entertain petitions signed by Nigerians on specific interests, insisting that the Public Petitions Committee and the Public Complaints Commission already serve the purpose. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
And to security, Nigerian troops have neutralized a total of 45 terrorists in various operations across the northern region. The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Musa Danmadami, who disclosed this to journalists at the Defense Headquarters Abuja, says at least 974 terrorists and their families have also surrendered to troops within the last 2 weeks. Reacting to the report by the Department of State Services on plots for an interim government, the Defense Headquarters says it will never support such moves because it is an unconstitutional act.
In the past 2 weeks, both kinetic and non-kinetic operations were conducted in the various theater of operations with significant outcomes recorded. Troops of Operation Hardenkai in the northeast zone of the country have sustained the offensive operations to curb the activities of Boko Haram and Islamic State of West African Province terrorists in the joint operational area within the zone. Troops equally neutralized 21 terrorists, captured 9 suspected terrorists, and arrested 11 suspected terrorist logistics suppliers and collaborators. Troops of Operation Hadarin Daji in the northwest zone of the country have sustained aggressive posture towards the fight against terrorism, kidnapping, banditry, and other criminal elements in the general area of operation. Consequently, within the week in focus, troops recovered 10 AK-47 rifles, 9 AK-47 rifle magazines, 14 den guns, 29 rounds of 7.62mm special, 6 motorcycles, radios, 76 Russell cattle. Troops also neutralized 24 terrorists, apprehended 9 suspected criminals, and rescued 43 adopted civilians. On the issue of interim government, I don't know why people are bringing up this issue. It's rather unfortunate. An election has been conducted. And INEC, who is mandated, has announced the president-elect. It's not our responsibility to speak on that issue, but I know that several calls have been made from the presidency that there's nothing like interim national government.
And we have more on security from our Abuja studios. Gloria, it's over to you.
Thank you, Millicent. Well, here we begin in Abuja on a sour note. At least 46 persons have been killed in Umogede village of Entekpa Adoka district in Otukpo local government area of Benue State by suspected herdsmen. An eyewitness from the affected village said residents of the community were burying the 3 persons earlier killed when the attackers suddenly came back with more firepower, killing the mourners in their numbers. The eyewitness adds that the attackers invaded the village at about 4 p.m. on Wednesday and opened fire on the mourners from all corners. Among those killed is the 33-year-old son of the chairman of Otukpo local government area, Mr. Bako Eje. Meanwhile, the Benue State Police Command says one of its men was among those killed. The police say more teams have been deployed to the area to forestall further breakdown of law and order. And in neighboring Taraba State, no fewer than 8 persons have been confirmed killed by attacks and counterattacks between farmers and herders in Usa local government area of Taraba State. Now, confirming the incident to Channels Television, the police public relations officer, Mr. Abdullahi Usman, reveals that the house and vehicles of the paramount ruler of Kwasate in the area was razed by aggrieved youths for not taking drastic measures to tackle issues of insecurity in the area.
The indigenous of Usa, who mainly are the Kuteps, they have this feeling of the Fulanis that are grazing that area, grazing their animals on their farms, which is very, very serious, a case of what we call mischief. In return, the Fulanis that are also living with them there, who are also grazing the land there, were accusing the Kuteps of killing their cows. Most of the times, the Fulanis allege that some of the bush meat found in the market in Usa and Evaro mostly are their cows killed by the Kuteps. And the Kutep also claim that the Fulanis are no longer allowed them to cultivate their farms there, because wherever they cultivate their farms, the Fulani will graze on those plants, and then they have no where to farm than their own area. So it's a very serious case of farmers herders clash.
Meanwhile, the Taraba State Governor, Mr. Darius Ishaku, is appealing to traditional rulers in the state to always raise early warning signals to enable government to detect and nip in the bud cases of insecurity across the state. According to the governor, his administration has created 68 chiefdoms since inception in 2015 in order not to balkanize residents along ethnic lines, but to give them a sense of direction and enhance unity.
The chieftaincy creation has made a positive impact. The negatives are there, but I want you to discourage you from them. Make a positive impact to your people and give us feedback early so that the government can help you. Because you will know the bad person who is among you. You will know when the bad man comes into your kingdom. And the earlier you alert us at the headquarters, the better for you. There is no way an armed person carrying 3 people carry 100 of them on 100 motorcycles. That is 300 people armed passing your chiefdom, and you didn't report. Then you are keeping your lives of your people and citizens in danger. But if you report to us early, you tell us early, then we will rise to the occasion early enough to stop them from carnage. I'm saying this because this is the things that we have experienced for the last almost 8 years.
Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Usman Alkali Baba, has reiterated the commitment of the Nigeria Police towards ensuring the security of citizens in the country. He stated this during the decoration of the newly promoted senior officers of the police at the force headquarters in Abuja, where he charged his men and officers not to lose guard in their places of duty. Our correspondent, Empress Simon, reports.
Senior officers of the Nigeria Police alongside their families have converged on the United Nations Peacekeeping Center at the force headquarters Abuja to be decorated with their new ranks. They include 1 Deputy Inspector General of Police, 24 Assistant Inspectors General of Police, and 33 Commissioners of Police. Amidst the excitement, they are charged to double their effort.
I call on you to deploy your wealth of experience towards supporting the force leadership in addressing current and evolving internet security challenges. I further charge you to advance the manifestation of those exceptional skills, sets and professional qualities which has earned you these latest elevation and brought you thus to a policing career.
It's a moment of joy for the newly promoted officers and their spouses.
I'm humbled and I'm happy with this elevation.
I'm so happy because it's not easy, I can tell you. I never planned to be a sort of single mother. Although he's alive and he's well, he's playing his role, but he's not always available to play his role. But now I'm happy and I feel so elated.
They pledge to put in their best.
Nigeria should be expecting the best from me and all others who have just been promoted and decorated this afternoon.
Nigerians should expect a rededicated, a re-energized, a highly motivated and committed officer who is ready to give his all in the service of humanity and the nation.
We'll be committed to protecting lives and property of all Nigerians, and Nigerians should feel very much safe, much more safer than before, by the grace of God.
While some of the newly promoted officers have already been assigned portfolios of responsibility, others await their posting. Empress Simon, Channels Television News.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Gloria, and congratulations to the officers. We're back in Rivers State, where the governor, Nyesom Wike, has again praised the courage of northern governors on the platform of the All Progressives Congress for advocating the rotation of power to the southern part of Nigeria. Governor Wike says history will be kind to the governors for placing the peace and unity of the country above regional sentiment. Governor Wike stated this during the commissioning of the Eneka Igboeche Link Road in Rivers State, a project which was commissioned by the Kaduna State Governor, Nasir El-Rufai.
There is a need
From the right of it.
After many years of being abandoned, the Eneke-Egboeche Link Road is now completed, following 4 months of construction work by the Nyesom Wike-led administration. Excited residents roll out their drums to celebrate Governor Wike, who arrives at the venue of the inauguration at Eneka in Obiakwa local government area with a special guest, Governor Nasser El-Rufai of Kaduna State. The tide which connects Obiakwa and the J local government areas of the state is measured at 5.1 kilometers.
Construction work on this project commenced on the 8th of November 2022. This means that this is almost exactly 4 months after the commencement of this project. This also means that the contractor met up with the specified contract duration, the completion time of 6 months, because he completed it in 4 months.
The special guest, before inaugurating the road, commends Governor Wike's agenda and the prudent management of resources in the state. He also hails the victory of APC Senator Bola Tinubu in the presidential election in Rivers State, first time in its history, where an opposition party has won the state at the presidential election.
I want to commend you for the quality governance provided to this state, the infrastructural transformation of the state, and your heavy investment in health, education, and job creation. Rivers is a very blessed state in many ways, and it is clear that under your leadership, the resources of this state are being used for the benefit of the people of the state.
The host governor, Nyesom Wike, is also applauding the courage of the northern governors, including Governor Nasser El-Rufai, for backing the rotation of the presidency to the south.
It is not about party, it's about governance, it's about Nigeria. There's nothing wrong in you coming to see what I've done, and me going to see what you have done, so we'll be able to compare notes. You know, in this part of our own country, politics always played party. Party is just a vehicle that conveys you to wherever you want to go. And I commend you and I thank you.
To commission the Eneke-Egboeche Link Road.
The road is then inaugurated. The completion of this road will not only help in reducing the traffic along the Eleme Junction area of the East-West Road, but will also improve the economic status of the two local government areas.
And some company news. Our Jolad Hospital has unveiled a health infrastructure called Our Jolad Plus to help meet the health needs of Lagosians. The chairman of Our Jolad Hospital, Mr. Babajide Ogundare, says the Our Jolad Plus facility will provide top-notch services that will be accessible to all.
Our Jolad is a multi-specialist hospital in the heart of Bagada area of Lagos, which has been rendering healthcare services since 1982. The healthcare provider, which prides itself in promoting quality services to the people of the area, is expanding its tent with the opening of Our Jolad Plus, a new building that will cater to more people. Medical experts, partners and friends are here to witness the ceremony.
We are today unveiling an extension of our Jolad Plus brand, a new 30-bed premium facility that offers top-quality specialized medical and diagnostic services to discerning Nigerians while keeping with our mantra of being the people's hospital.
The man behind this vision, Dr. Funsho Ladipo, says the team will continue to raise the bar and provide affordable and accessible healthcare services to the people.
At this new facility, we offer comfortable admission suites, 2 operating theaters, including a laminar flow theater for neurosurgery and advanced orthopedic procedures. Through this new facility, we now give our patients the power of choice to make the decision on the type of healthcare services they desire.
Partners commend the growth of the hospital and promise to do more for the health sector.
For Our Jolad specifically, it provided us an entry into the medium-lower income group,
Sterling Bank has invested in the healthcare space for at least 7 years. And they did that not just by looking at it just as a banking investment, they did it as a partnership. And that's what this kind of investment needs.
I hereby declare this facility to the glory of God today commissioned and open for business.
Meanwhile, the Commissioner for Health in Lagos State, Professor Akin Abayomi, says the government is open to more partnerships that will improve the health sector.
Somewhere like here is fantastic for us as a government. It's exactly what we want. We're doing it in the public sector and we're encouraging the private sector to do the same thing so that our citizens can seek advanced healthcare in Lagos and don't have to get on an aeroplane and fly to India, Dubai, South Africa or Europe.
Our Jalad Plus is furnished with state-of-the-art medical equipment as management of the facility look forward to spreading its services across the country.
And leading mobile phone manufacturer Tecno has made an emphatic entrance into the Nigerian foldable mobile device market with the launch of the Phantom 5-Fold in Lagos. According to the company, the 5-Fold is the first and the latest innovation from the brand as it continues to revolutionize the premium smartphone experience through outstanding technologies and exceptional performance.
Tecno Mobile is hosting its brand ambassadors and collaborative partners to celebrate the latest breakthrough in smartphone innovation, the Tecno Phantom V Fold. The device is built with unique features and large screen capabilities to empower users' productivity and overall enjoyment.
So they're using a MediaTek Dimensity 9000 processor is what it's called. It's one of the top 4 processors on smartphones that are commercially available now. So I think that is a very nice addition to the Phantom line. And being a foldable phone is very interesting to see because it's priced lower than many other significantly popular foldable phones.
So imagine watching YouTube videos on one part of the screen and sending WhatsApp messages. It's really amazing.
Beyond the launch, the event is focused on how Tecno is pushing the boundaries of smartphones to deliver an experience that is beyond the extraordinary.
In our vision and mission, we did say, we promised that we're going to give the best technology without compromising on the style and then design of the product. We also mentioned in our mission and statement that we are there to cater for the young at hand, as well as who want to be stylish and to aid your productivity.
Tecno Phantom V Fold comes with freebies on purchase.
So we have 2 variants. We have the 256 and then we have the 556 as well. So for these 2 amazing products, we have one which is 600 plus, now up to 700, and then one is 700 plus in our studio, in our stores. At the same time, the freebies you are getting is almost more than close to 100k freebies that we're giving on this product. Yeah, so imagine you giving an insurance of 1 year on the screen. You know what that means. So if you're insuring your car, you know what it means for a premium for a year. So we have that covered on all our devices already for you.
Tecno says it is guided by its brand essence of stop at nothing and that it is committed to unlocking the best and newest technologies for forward-looking individuals.
Business News is up next. Here's Anne Wilder.
Thank you, Millicent. Hello and welcome to Business News. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, warns that its outlook for global economic growth for the next 5 years will be the weakest since 1990. The IMF Managing Director, Kristalina Georgieva, says the world economy will expand less than 3% over the next half-decade as higher interest rates continue to bite.
We project global growth for the next 5 years to remain around 3%. This is our lowest medium-term growth forecast since 1990. It is well below the average of 3.8% we had in the pre-COVID decade. And it makes it even harder to reduce poverty, to heal the economic scars of the COVID crisis, to provide new and better opportunities to all. Getting up this hill would require major step changes. Economic activity is slowing down in 90% of advanced economies in the US, in the euro area, where high interest rates weigh on demand. And we are going to see in low-income countries higher borrowing costs coming at the time of weakening demand for their exports.
E-commerce giant Amazon is offering French staff up to a year's pay to get them to leave, as the company now looks to exit thousands of workers across the European Union. The online retailer is asking senior managers to voluntarily quit in return for generous payoffs. Meanwhile, Amazon has announced 2 rounds of layoffs, cutting 18,000 staff in January and an additional 9,000 last month, as the pandemic-fueled e-commerce boom wanes. According to layoffs, 42,000 tech industry professionals across Europe have lost their jobs in the first 3 months of 2023. Let's head to the equities market now. It closed the final trading day of the week in negative territory, clinching the 4-day losing streak. Let's hear the details from Laddie Williams.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, it's official. The bears dominate the first trading week of the second quarter of 2023 and the first trading week of April. Anyway, it's a shortened holiday week there. We see all share index 0.05%, losing that 53K level, 52,994 points. Market cap below the 29 trillion level now, 28.869 trillion now. Let's look at the activity chart today. We see it's just deals and volume in the green, showing it's still more sell pressure than what we had yesterday. Value 1.92 billion, less than what we had for yesterday. Let's look at the sectoral performance. We see oil and gas this time there 0.17% down. Banking up marginally by 0.08%, thanks to some tier 2 banks. They're helping that counter come up. Consumer goods 0.17%, just like oil and gas. And we saw international breweries there. Share price down by 5 kobo, and Dangote Sugar losing about 50 kobo, taking that counter down. Well, investors have since this month been taking profit on some counters that had appreciated earlier this year. And this month, the market has decreased by over 2%. Well, fingers crossed for what happens next week. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Laddie Williams. It's back to you.
And that's business news for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. The rest of the news at 10 continues now with Millicent.
Thank you, Anne. And away from business, as Rwanda gets ready to commemorate its 29th memorial of the genocide, the youth have resolved not to allow a repeat of the genocide in their country. Our next report looks at the power of hate speech and how it contributed to the tragedy that claimed over 1 million lives.
Rwandans will never forget the 7th of April 1994, when an estimated 800,000 Tutsis were brutally murdered in the 1994 Rwandan genocide, with a moderate number of Hutus who refused to murder the Tutsis. The citizens, however, disagree with this figure, claiming about 1 million Tutsis lost their lives in that tragedy. A visit to the Kigali Memorial Grounds show what is left of those that were killed. The authorities have cautiously preserved their remains.
Du FPR, cherche à attaquer la ville à partir de la commune de Mbazi.
It's been said that hate speech, the media and propaganda played a pivotal role in the tragedy with inciting songs and messages. And a stage play to that effect was showcased to the youth as a means of awakening their consciousness of what happened years ago. According to these youth, there will be no repeat of the genocide.
don't want to be there again. We don't want to go back. We want a brighter Rwanda. We want a good future for our country, for ourselves, for our future families. So, starting from me, I am ready, very ready to fight, and I'm ready, and also I do my part in teaching those who are younger than me, so that they know what happened, how it happened, and they also even seen the consequences. So we're really ready to fight in every way we can to not let this thing happen ever again.
I would like to tell the youth to use positively the power of speech, the power of social medias, to influence and create awareness of what truly happened, so that the voices of those who deny can be clouded by those who are speaking the truth, who are speaking the positive ways of how things were going on. Because I don't think if we just sit here and act like we don't care, it's going to take us back to where we were from.
During the genocide, Hutu children as young as 8 years were told to kill their neighbors who weren't of the same ethnic group. Now the Rwandan administration is teaching the young ones the importance of nation building.
Now we have changed the strategies. The youth which can participate in the construction of the country, not on the one who would be participating in similar activities like genocide or killing people.
The importance of the commemoration is just to prevent and to make sure that the genocide will never happen again.
The overall purpose of the Rwandan Genocide Commemoration is to consciously awaken the value of life and humanity, and to also renew the collective commitment to protect and uphold fundamental human rights, and collectively commit to justice and the fight against impunity.
Staying with international stories, French leader Emmanuel Macron says he is relying on Chinese President Xi Jinping to bring Russia to the negotiating table and end the war in Ukraine, as it is impossible to have a safe and stable Europe as long as Kyiv remains occupied. Mr. Macron is on a state visit to China. Here's Simon Pusi with more international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. French President Emmanuel Macron has urged his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping to use his influence to help stop Russia's war in Ukraine.
L'agression russe en Ukraine a porté un coup.
I know I can count on you to bring Russia to its senses, he told Mr. Xi at the start of talks in Beijing. Mr. Xi said their two countries had the ability and responsibility to safeguard world peace. The French leader is on a state visit to China, which has refused to condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Accompanied by a large business delegation, Mr. Macron is also seeking to bolster trade ties. He is joined by European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen, who he invited to take part in talks with Chinese leadership. Meanwhile, China has launched military drills in response to a much-anticipated meeting between Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen and the US House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. They met in California a week after President Tsai was feted in New York with a leadership award. Ms. Tsai hailed their strong and unique partnership, and Mr. McCarthy said that arms sales to Taiwan must continue. Beijing, in turn, has vowed a resolute response and sent warships into the waters around the self-governed island. 5 people have been killed in a pre-dawn tornado that ripped through southeastern Missouri. Roofs were ripped off and power lines downed in devastated Bollinger County. First responders from multiple agencies combed through destroyed homes and businesses in the rural area. 5 people were also injured and 87 structures damaged, with 12 of those buildings completely destroyed. Storm spotters reported the tornado touched down in the area at around 3:30 a.m. local time, one of more than a dozen twisters seen in the Midwest overnight. Another round of nationwide strikes and protests have taken place in several cities in France after a meeting between the Prime Minister and labour unions failed to break a political stalemate. Some clashes between police and protesters erupted in Rennes, with projectiles being thrown at police who responded with tear gas. Thousands were marching in the streets of Rennes in western France and Calais in the north, with protesters chanting and holding signs. They're calling for the scrapping of the deeply unpopular pension bill, which makes people work for longer in their lives. South Africa has revoked a national state of disaster declared in February to manage a crippling electricity crisis. The state of disaster gave the government additional powers to respond to the crisis. The government will now work to reduce the impact of power cuts using existing legislation and contingency arrangements. Sudanese leaders have again postponed the signing of a final agreement to re-establish a civilian government as differences within military factions intensify. Talks continued overnight with negotiations centred on a draft deal that was to be signed on Thursday. Sudan has been in political crisis since October 2021, when the army overthrew a civilian government that ousted long-serving leader Omar al-Bashir in 2019. And dolphins and trainers from eastern Ukraine are now delighting children in Romania, having fled the country's war. Last year, the dolphinarium took in 4 dolphins and 3 sea lions, alongside their trainers and doctors fleeing the shelling in the eastern Ukrainian city of Kharkiv. Romania is one out of some 14 European Union states that have aquariums with sea animals. In Kharkiv, the local dolphinarium sought to move their dolphins and sea lions as soon as the shelling started last February.
It was new experience for us and for our animals because we are different. It's not the family, but it's a very good friends. Like our team, the same, because we have a border language, and we was a lot of nervous. We was afraid, scared about all this situation. But right now, really, the people here is very kind for us.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. And back home, here's an update on our story on the allegation by the APC in River State that one of its lawyers was kidnapped today at the ANEC office in Port Harcourt. Well, the chairman of Ikure local government area, Mr. Samuel Wanosike, has denied the allegations that he was involved in the kidnap of the APC lawyer in River State, Dr. Godswill Dike. Mr. Wanosike said in a telephone conversation with Channels Television, says he can never be involved in kidnapping anyone. According to him, the lawyer in question has released a statement saying that he is safe.
Welcome to Sports News. Now, Chelsea have appointed club legend Frank Lampard as caretaker manager until the end of the season. Lampard will be in charge of the Blues for Saturday's game against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Lampard, who has been out of a job since he was dismissed by Everton in January, previously managed the Blues from July 2019 until January 2021. Chelsea are 11th on the table, despite having spent more than £550 million on new players this season. And the Super Falcons are set for tomorrow's international friendly against Haiti in the Turkish city of Antalya, with all invited players in camp for the game, which will serve as preparation for the FIFA Women's World Cup later in the year. This is the first international meeting between both World Cup-bound teams. And that's a wrap on Sports News. I'm Victor Matthias. Thank you for watching. It's back to Militant.
Thanks, Victor. And the main news again. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo today asked the incoming administration to urgently pursue reconciliation and moral rearmament for the country to heal from the wounds of the 2023 election. The former president, who was speaking at a function in Abuja, said achieving this has the potential of bringing about healing and assuaging the youth in the country. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.